so that things don't get
let me start with Usihle. With regards to conditions, there are no conditions the IFP has put forward. But I want to make this clarity so that everyone could understand. The IFP at a national level cannot engage in a discussion with the provincial level of the ANC. That is number one. So we felt a responsible and sustainable solution, because President Ramaphosa was present in the event together with myself, and he made a comment on the matter. The matter is therefore at a national leadership attention. That is why we said, knowing the character of the leadership of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, we need to assist both ANC and IFP national leaders to make the engagement take place. If Mr. Ramaphosa can respond today, tomorrow or Sunday, next week as early as Monday, the IFP is prepared to get into the process where the joint leadership of the ANC and IFP will have to discuss the terms and reference of how to ensure that we do not get a scenario like the one we had, one of making unsubstantiated statements, and two, we will be very happy as the IFP if evidence can be brought to the table as to how the IFP is dragged on the matter, because it does concern us. The event was not ours, and actually no political party had to use its regalia going to that government function. But it's a matter for another day, that one. We are not against people wearing what they like, but it poses a danger when a government function is branded with the political party colors. But we've gone beyond that. That is why we sat in the event until the end, because it doesn't threaten us and it doesn't confuse even us in terms of how you have branded the event, because we know where we stand. So now, precisely, conditions will be agreed between the two political parties to ensure that we create an environment that will be sustainable as a peaceful environment going forward and beyond the elections in May. And to Unkosi, the KwaZulu-Natal does not have the prerogative of making a constitution to recognize institutions as you have referred to. But I must say, the IFP is on record to fight for the full recognition of the traditional institution and giving specific rights, responsibilities, authority throughout South Africa. We stand on that one. If the IFP can be given an opportunity to be part of a new government at an executive level, we will take those matters to the table, because they remain unresolved. But let me go further. In the province of KwaZulu-Natal, whenever the king is opening the legislature, the traditional prime minister of the Zulu monarch is the one who salutes the king before he speaks, every year. Now, if you don't recognize the position of a traditional minister, I'm sure the media knows, you can't speak in parliament if you're not recognized. You can't salute in parliament during the official sitting if you're not recognized. So now, I think the statement to say they don't recognize the traditional prime minister was really irresponsible. Let me share again this one. President Ramaphosa, during the installation of the king, he worked through the traditional prime minister to the king, because he recognized him and he knew this is from the time of King Shaka, which is almost 2 centuries now, close to 2 centuries. How can you come and say an institution that has existed close to 200 years and is playing a critical role in the society, and then you come now because you have an issue close to elections, you say you don't recognize it, it's not there in the law. President Ramaphosa, on the day, he acknowledged Reverend Tula Sizwe as a traditional prime minister of the Zulu monarch and nation. And it is a matter of fact that the program director, Ubabuduma, did not recognize him. When the premier stood to speak, he only recognized him as the mayor of Zululand, not as a traditional prime minister, but thanks to the president of the country, who recognized him as a traditional prime minister to the king and the Zulu nation. That is why we are appealing that let us do what is going to promote progress in our country and unity in order to have a stable society. You can go to all other kingdoms in South Africa. They do have positions of traditional prime ministers. You can go to all other traditional institutions, even at a level of inkosi, ukhona undunankulu wenkosi. Now, if you will say we don't recognize undunankulu because it's not constitutional, but what do you say about what is held valuable by the society for ages, which also plays a critical role? Well, I'm sure as a matter of advice, if you want to go to the king, you go to the king through the prime minister. I just don't know, if you don't recognize the prime minister and you want to go to the king, how are you going to reach the king?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Good morning. My name is Zemasa Matiwani from Sunday Times. I wanted to go back to the violent incident that took place and the accusation upon you receiving it. Did you say he who alleges must prove, or did you go to the constituency in Ulundi to say, can you check if our people were involved in violence, if our people were injured? Did you try and do a fact-finding mission on the side of the IFP?
Okay, I can respond. I want to respect the name of the hostel, but I can say it on record. When Mr. Ndolo phoned me on Saturday, he said, the people who attacked ANC members are reported to have arrived with 2 taxis long after the event, and they were coming from a certain hostel, he called it by name, from Durban. You get it, Zimas? Now, in KwaCeza, KwaNongoma, then there are 2 taxis from a hostel in Durban. To me, it didn't tally in the first place. But I said, I'm sure all of you, ladies and gentlemen, you know, even the public knows, when an incident happens on a broad daylight, people take photos, take videos. You know that one. Even if it can be a shooting of a terrible kind, people take photos and videos and share them. They go viral. I said, Ndolo, can you talk to people there to share a certain piece of information that we can use as IFP? It can be photos, it can be videos, and we can track the people if we look at the videos. Now, he who alleges has to prove to you. Now, it will be difficult, colleagues and people of South Africa, if you are told that the taxis were coming from Durban. I'm citing Durban because we need to check the distance in between. How can you go and trace who left from this hostel to Nongo? And people who transported people to that event is the government. Because we saw there was a lot of transport, and when I was going there, people were showing their flags along the windows. And I said, but why are these flags necessary? Because this is a government function. Now, the police can assist to establish which taxi left from eMlazi to Nongo, because Ntolo was specific that the taxis came from a particular hostel and who had paid for the taxi and who were being transported from that hostel to Nongo. That is why we are saying the engagement around the table, not using voice note, because a VN is very dangerous. If a person can say somebody has shot so and so, and then circulate that voice note, you can't act on a voice note without substantiating the correctness of the voice note. Up to now, nobody from the ANC has said, look, here are the photos, or here is a video. It was on a broad daylight. It cannot be that such an act, nobody took pictures. It would be a strange thing on its own if that can happen. I'm sure we are all on the same page on that one, that in terms of technology, people are very smart now. They know how to keep evidence. I'm sure those ANC members were not alone. There were other ANC members who should have been quick in the first place. If we can get that piece of information, we will own it once it is proved that it is IFP who did so. But let me then go beyond. The IFP maintains its commitment that we are hoping once this engagement is done around the table, we will clarify these matters and go to the bottom of it and demonstrate that the accusation is valid. But we want to call everyone, one, avoid reckless statements, because you may cause violence by accusing other people falsely. Anyone who took photos or who have videos can assist us so that we own this thing once and for all. But put aside the failure of proving the allegation, we are committed to ensure that we have a stable society. We want to engage the ANC, and as we are making it public, the national leadership of the ANC must respond so that we jointly deal with this matter and not accuse each other, sometimes falsely, over the media.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just want, because one has been engaged with this matter publicly, I want to just reiterate one thing, Mr. President, of issues that have been raised. And I say it again, there are phrasing that Uzwas was using is a phrasing I used in one of the interviews as well. In the absence of any proof, why must the IFP take any responsibility? And I asked the question, why must the public just swallow what the ANC is saying as if what they say is a gospel truth? So we are really throwing the ball back into their court. And for the Premier to masquerade throughout the week with statements and press conferences and so on, making allegations, one would have imagined by now that as head of the provincial government, she would have taken serious strides to have given the information that she has. It's incumbent on her as well. The final point is that the things we say must not be taken lightly. Why was the statement condemning the violence dated the 11th of March 2024? When we all know in this room that this event was scheduled to be on the 10th of March to coincide with the IFP manifesto launch. And then it was postponed. We all know what's at play. I think let us not take South Africans for a ride and pretend as though we do not see the intentions which were behind the provincial government pioneering the 110th anniversary of His Majesty King Delusi. It was not an honest move, and it's proven by the fact that the buses that were sent there and that ANC T-shirts were distributed at that function is the clearest indication of the problem that we have. So in the final analysis, we want to commend the President of the IFP for ensuring that there's a constructive approach to dealing with this matter. And I appeal to you colleagues in the media that during this time of electioneering, scrutinize everything a bit more than any other time, because it's election season. And a week later, have you guys received any evidence? Not a shred, because it's not there. So it's easy, this headlining, hey, IFP, hey, IFP, hey, IFP, but substantively there's nothing there. And so, Mr. President, we support your clarion call for responsible speaking on this matter, because we are being falsely accused and there's no evidence to IFP prove that you are innocent. How? Njani? Prove IFP that you are innocent. How? It's the 80s, season 2. It's wrong. So, Mr. President, we support your roadmap to ensuring that there's peace and stability, and we are not distracted on our onward march to the 29th of May. Thank you very much. I'm sure there's going to be requests for Zulu, so we'll set up here for the President to seek and just set up here, and then, Mr. President, any concluding remarks on your side?
I think the concluding remark is the call that you have reiterated, and we want to request to all political parties in South Africa not to make statements that are reckless and cannot be substantiated. Let us all be responsible of what we are saying, and in relation to this matter specifically, I want to appeal to our counterpart, the ANC. Come to the table. Let us stop using the media, making statements which we are not able to substantiate. Come to the table, and when we arrive at the table, the IFP will engage the leadership of the ANC, and we will keep the public informed that yes, indeed, evidence was presented which shows that it were our members, and we will own them. But if the evidence is not coming forth, we will have to be all brave to say we acted on a voice note which cannot be substantiated, and a responsible action will have to be taken to retract the false accusation done. I'm not dictating what should happen, but the appeal is, let us avoid using the media of whatever kind, social media of whatever kind, to make reckless statements if we are really committed to peace and stability. The IFP is available and is willing this matter to be handled with care for the benefit of our people. Violence is very bad. It destroys the society. Lives are lost in a violent environment. We are not going to be taken back to that period by anyone for whatever reason.
Thank you very much. The President will be available for one-on-ones. Colleagues, please do stand by. We'll attend refreshments which will be served shortly. Take care, Godspeed, have a good weekend, and we shall see you.
UPresident we-IFP Velenkosini Hlabisa uphendula inkulumo esanda kusabalala einkundleni zokuxhumana kaBheki Mtolo kanye noSiboniso Duma emva kokuba bethe undunankulu wamaZulu yinto nje engekho esemoyeni. Uthi uVelenkosini ukuze ukhulume nesilo kumele uqale kundunankulu wamaZulu. Uphinde wahlangula iqembu lakhe le-IFP eliholwa wuye ukuthi akulona elashaya amalunga e-ANC alimala agcwele ibhedlela. Uphinde waveza nokuthi wafonelwa uMtolo emtshela ukuthi abantu abashayiwe be-ANC bashawa amalunga e-IFP ayesuka eThekwini kwafika amatekisi amabili.